ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Today we're going to be viewing some of the president's remarks initially at the outset of the 4-4 Coronavirus Task Force meeting. Again, basically current protocols that we're looking in as recommendations are if you have the ability to cover your face with any type of covering. It doesn't need to be a mask, it can be a scarf, this, that, or anything. That is currently, I believe, the CDC recommendation. So let's get into it, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. Busy time, very busy time. And let me begin by, again, expressing our support, solidarity, and love for the people of our great country. We're fighting for you, and we're enduring all of this together. And we will soon prevail together, making a lot of progress. We appreciate all of the great assistance from the governors and people within the states. The relationships have been really very good. I spoke with Governor Cuomo. We're working very hard to get additional things to New York as quickly as possible. As you know, we took care of the hospital, including personnel, the 2,500 beds that we built just recently at Javits, including personnel.
The Army Corps of Engineers.
And we opened it up to COVID, and that's something that we also did in Louisiana, and we're doing it in Dallas. So we have a lot of not only hospitals being built, but now we're manning the hospitals because states are, in many cases, unable to get additional people to work. It's just an incredible situation.
Military
it's never been anything like this. One of the most important issues in battling this pandemic is coordinating the delivery of the crucial supplies throughout the nation based upon the most accurate information available. And we've got the best health care and disaster experts anywhere in the world, and everybody will tell you that. And we're dealing with big parts of the world and helping them also through this horrible situation. We're at 151, still 151 nations are going through it. We're working to ensure that the supplies are delivered where and when they're needed. In some cases, we're telling governors, we can't go there because we don't think you need it and we think someplace else needs it. And pretty much so far, we've been right about that.
Do they need it?
And we'll continue to do it as it really gets. This will be probably the toughest week between this week and next week. And there'll be a lot of death, unfortunately, but a lot less death than if this wasn't done, but there will be death. We're looking for an obvious focus in the hardest hit regions. Some of them are obvious and some aren't so obvious. They spring up, they come, and they hit you like you got hit by a club, an area that wasn't at all bothered. You look at what's going on in New Jersey. The governor's doing an excellent job, by the way, but how that sprang up. Every decision that we're making is made to save lives. It's really our sole consideration. We want to save lives.
And then they're transmitting with their
lives lost as possible.
Over a 2 to 3 week period.
It's therefore critical that certain media outlets stop spreading false rumors and creating fear and even panic with the public. It's just incredible. I could name them, but it's the same ones always.
Did you just say there will be
I guess they're looking for ratings. I don't know what they're looking for. So bad for our country. And so bad. The people understand it. You look at the levels and approval ratings, and they're the lowest they've ever been for media. It's so bad for our country, so bad for the world.
Here's the thing.
Is every hospital jam-packed with people in the corridors
on respirators?
During a national emergency, it's just essential that the federal decision makers cut through the fog of confusion in order to follow the facts and the science.
Yeah.
Many hospital administrators that we've been in touch with, even in the really hot spots, you know what they are communicating directly with us that their level of supplies are meeting essential needs, and at the current time, they're really thrilled to be where they are. Whenever local shortages are reported, we're asking states to immediately meet the demand, and we're stockpiling large amounts in different areas, and we're going to be discussing that in a little while.
Governor
but
Baker,
we want distributions to be made
and the Patriots
on a fair
they
basis. We
they
have to take
flew
care
in a
of
whole bunch of
a large
PPE.
country, not just certain areas of the country. But no matter where, we've been there, and we've been there very strong.
Like
I
there was
wanna
a very
thank
nice
FEMA. I wanna
billionaire in
thank
New
the
York that
Army
flew in a
Corps of
bunch of
Engineers.
stuff
I
as
want to thank our
well.
military for what they're doing.
Good.
And we're going to be adding a tremendous
Should
amount
we have
of
to be doing that?
military
I don't
to
know.
help supplement the states.
Doesn't seem that way, but
Thousands
apparently
of
we
soldiers,
do.
thousands of medical workers, professionals, nurses, doctors, and it'll be a large number. We'll be telling them over the next very short period where they're going. They're going into war. They're going into a battle that they've never really trained for. Nobody's trained for this. Nobody's seen this. I would say since 1917, which was the greatest of them all. The greatest of this type of battle, probably the greatest of them all, right? 1917.
Oh, Mr.
Up to
President, the
100
mix of that
million
is
people were
not
killed.
good. I
In
understand
addition,
what
we're
you're
working directly
saying, but
with
you're saying,
hospitals
quote
and
unquote, the
existing
greatest of them
suppliers
all
and
in
distributors
regards
to
to
ensure that those with
like
the greatest
100
need
million something
are
people
prioritized.
dying.
And that need changes.
not
One
a
day
good
it's
look.
one state or one locale, one city,
Again, I
and
know
then
what
all
you're
of a sudden
saying,
they're
but
starting to do well.
oh,
We had some very good reports coming out of the state of Washington, coming out of various parts
I
of
do like that
California.
tie though. It's a nice tie.
So areas that we were getting ready to really hit hard, we can now go to other areas. It looks like New York is going to be hit very hard. And Louisiana is just amazing the way it just spread up. And everyone's doing a good job, but they're going to be hit hard. Areas in the country that are not experiencing large-scale infections are requesting supplies beyond what their present circumstances require. And we talk to them, and we tell them, and we explain it, and for the most part, they're good with it. We think we're right.
My dad
It's
read
very
a book
understandable that
and explained
officials
a
would seek
theory
to get the most they
saying
can
that,
get for their communities. But the fears of
basically a lot
the
of
shortages have
our
led
adulthood
to
and development
inflated
happens when
requests.
we're
We have
younger.
some
And
states
apparently,
and areas where they're just
Mr.
asking
Trump,
for
when he was younger, was set off to
far more.
military
Look, we had
school when
one
he was
state
13.
asking
They
for
say some folks can be stuck in that
40,000
mentality.
40,000.
At first, I kind of
Think of it,
dismissed it, and then I sat back and I'm like, well, he's
it's not
still an adult. He's
possible.
still the president of the
They
United
won't
States,
need that
but
many, and now they're
a
admitting they don't need
13-year-old
that many, but,
mentality,
we're
in
getting
some
as
ways,
many as we can to them.
I don't know. I think that explains
Again,
a
nobody's
lot.
ever seen anything like this in terms of ventilators, in terms of protective equipment, and uniforms and outfits. But it makes it more difficult for distributors to prioritize the real need, and it could intentionally. And look, everybody has proper intentions, but they want to make sure they're 100%. And sometimes when they know they don't
Nothing is
need it, they
perfect.
want it anyway. It gives them that extra feeling of satisfaction, but we just can't do that. It's not even possible to think about it. And that's why, and we're a backup. Remember, we're a backup. We're the greatest backup that ever existed for the states, especially when we start getting into the hospital building business
yeah.
and getting into the medical center building.
But we weren't
business.
stockpiled.
When you
Apparently,
see
a
we
bunch
built
of folks were buying
many
up
hospitals,
stuff and
numerous hospitals in
sending
some
it
states
to,
and medical
I
centers.
don't know.
That's
I
why
heard
my
some folks over in
administration
China
has been
needed stuff, and
requesting
we
actual
let that
usage
happen, and
numbers
we
directly
didn't
from the states and the
restockpile.
hospitals to meet their needs, because we want to be ready when
If the task force was set up on
the
the
brunt of
28th,
it comes, which is coming quickly. You see
wouldn't
it.
this have been something we'd
You
look
see it as
at?
sure as you can see it.
Did
And
nobody
when
know?
the brunt of it comes, we want to be ready
the
to
right
hit the area
people
that
know?
needs it. We don't want to
These
have
are my
spent
questions.
everything in one area
Ahoy.
and they don't need it there to anywhere near the extent. So let me be extremely clear about one point. We will move heaven and earth to safeguard our great American citizens. We will continue to use every
Here's
power,
my question.
every
Had the president
authority,
just said
every
that, we
single
will move heaven
resource
and earth
we've
to
got
get these
keep
resources,
our people healthy, safe,
and maybe a
secure, and to
1-minute
get
schmeal
this thing
before
over
that,
with. We want to finish
and
this
handed it
war.
off
We
to
have get
everyone
back
else,
to work.
like
We
the
have to
Attorney
get- we
General,
have to open
Dr.
our country
Fauci,
again.
Ms. Burke.
We have to open.
If he
our
handed off
country
those
again.
folks after like a 1 or 2 minute blurb,
We don't want to be doing this
would
for
this bother us as much?
months and months and months. We're going to open our country.
Because I know some
again.
folks love this.
This
It's
country
the president
wasn't
taking
meant for
charge, but at the
this.
same time,
If you were,
the
you
way he
were.
communicates,
but we have to open our country.
it drives
again.
people crazy.
I just spoke with the commissioners, leaders of, I would say, virtually all of the sports leagues. Rob Manfred, Commissioner of Baseball,
The sports
Major League
league.
Baseball. Roger Goodell, Commissioner
big
of the
fan of
National
the
Football
sport.
League. Adam Silver, Commissioner of the National Basketball Association.
I know I'm poking.
Gary Bettman, Commissioner of the National Hockey League. Jay Monahan, Commissioner of the PGA Tour. Kathy Engelbert, Commissioner of the Women's National Basketball Association. Dana White, the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Vince McMahon, President of the WWE.
Oh, he's got Vince. He's got
Don
Vince.
Garber, Commissioner of Major League Soccer.
I think the XFL is done again.
Steve Phelps, President of NASCAR.
I was hearing good things.
Michael Wan, Commissioner of the LPGA. Roger Penske, Founder and Chairman, Penske Corp. And Drew Fleming, President of the Breeders' Cup. And there are a couple of others on, and these are all the great leaders of sport, and they want to get back. They got to get back.
WrestleMania is a
Can't do
two-night
this.
event this year in an empty
The sports
arena.
weren't designed for it. The whole concept
I heard
of
there were
our
some good
nation wasn't
matches,
designed
but
for it. We're going to have to get back.
It's
We wanna
not
get
the
back
same
soon,
without a
very
crowd,
soon.
man.
For example, and I have to say,
No, this is the one
we're
from
using the
yesterday.
Defense Production
The
Act.
president went on for like 28 minutes.
Very
I didn't feel like
powerful.
doing it all yesterday.
In some times
He goes on
directly,
probably
in
around
many
5
cases
o'clock today.
indirectly. Just the threat of it's usually enough. But FEMA and HHS have ordered 180 million. Think of that, 180 million. Who ever heard of 180 million N95 masks? And we're working now with 3M to see whether or not that all works
think-
out. But we want them
I
to
think anyone that's learned
help our
math,
country.
or at least
And,
up to so many
I
commas.
think it's going
I'm
to be
sorry.
okay.
I'm
We're gonna
sorry,
soon
but
let you know. But we need the masks. We don't want other people getting it. That's why we're instituting a lot of Defense Production Act. You could call it retaliations because that's what it is. It's a retaliation. If people don't give
It's
us
the
what we
law.
need for our people,
It's
we're
the
going to be
law.
very tough, and we've been very tough. Usually we don't have to use it, but
Why
we've
do
used
you
it
have to
plenty.
use
More and
retaliation?
more, unfortunately.
I know you're
And it
connoting the
works
war
very well.
context, the war on the
Our
virus and everything,
supply chain logistics task force led by Admiral John Polovchek, who's doing a fantastic job, will ensure they're
he's giving us
distributed
shout-outs. He's giving
to
credit
the
where credit's
healthcare and
due.
critical infrastructure workers in the
he's the
areas with the
president.
most
He gets to
pressing
decide
requirements.
this.
That's the
It's
60
just,
million
he just keeps going on.
masks that we're talking about,
And
and the
it's
100
those sly jabs. It's like, Mr. President,
180
you're
million N95
you're the most powerful
masks.
office in the
180
world.
million. Who ever heard of 180
Who's
million
ever
masks?
heard of anybody that's
And this is
probably
a
been in the business?
incredible
I don't
thing. A lot
know.
of times that we have to stop playing this
I
game.
realize it's a big number.
If a governor wants 200 ventilators, and I say, no, we're going to send you 1,000. We think you need more than 200. And then the media meets with the governor, and they say, oh, you got more? Well, it's not enough. The president should have sent more. So he's asking for 200. We give him 1,000. They say, how's the president doing? He should have given more, because that's politics. That's politics.
There
And that's
totally is
unfortunate because we
some of
can't
that
play
going
that game.
on. I mean, it has to
And,
be.
you know,
But
that's one
then again,
party
I'm
doing it, and
curious.
the other party's
That's
happy.
one of the
but
reasons why
they're all really happy
I kind
because
of
they
wanted
should have
to
been doing this work
cover these
themselves for a
things.
long
So
period of time.
we at least have
Many of their
the
cupboards were
president
bare.
speaking.
With
can
respect
just-
to the
we can
ventilators,
just watch,
FEMA and
we just
HHS
remember, that's
continue to
all.
monitor the data on an hourly basis where provided
on
by the
things, but don't
states
go
in order
crazy.
to most effectively target the distribution of supplies. We've been asking states to provide us with daily updates on the number of ventilators and their utilization rates because some states have more ventilators than they need. They don't even like to admit it. They'll admit it when everything's over, but that doesn't help us very
Well,
much.
because you don't know.
This data is vitally
basing it on
necessary so
models.
that we can
You're not sure
ensure
what the
ventilators
future
are
will
getting
hold.
to the right place at the right time. FEMA, HHS,
You're trying to account for
DOD are
humanity
developing
and things that they
resources
haven't
within
dealt with before.
the next 24 hours.
That's not hard.
They will have a whole different set of criteria. Every day it's different criteria. Every day this horrible, invisible enemy changes a course. It changes course. If you were fighting the normal fight, you know what's happening. They hit one, they hit another, they
Well,
hit
we don't
another
understand
state.
fully
They
how
hit
this
areas
works
that
yet.
you
That's
didn't
one of the
expect.
big things that we're
But
not really getting.
Watching it, and we're
How does it actually
capturing it.
work? We've
Our
only
goal
known
is
about
to
this for
stay
what,
several
like 3
days
months
ahead
now?
of the needs
4?
in each state.
something like that.
But we can only do that if the cities
Maybe
and
4.5.
states utilize real-time local knowledge to provide timely and precise data about actual usage. So we have to be able to do that. And if a state has ventilators, as an example, that they know they're not going to need, they should give them over, and we should move them with the other ones. We have now 10,000 in our pipeline, and stockpiled 10,000 close. And we're moving some into New York, so we're going to need some additional. We're moving some into New York City and state separately, and we're bringing them to the point where they'll need them. I can also report that at my direction, 1,000 military personnel are deploying to New
think
York
part of
City
it, I think
to
it was
assist
the day before
where they're
this one,
needed
so I
the
think this
most.
was on
That's the hottest of
Thursday.
all the hot spots.
No, excuse me,
New
Friday.
Jersey is right there. It's right next to it, and I don't know if that's
Somebody was talking about medical
overflow, but
supplies
New
in
Jersey's-
regards to what
it's a
Jared
great
Kushner
state,
said.
and
It sounded like the
very-
president was saying,
It's a crowded
no,
state
no,
also,
these
where
states,
you have
this
people
and
on
that.
top
It's
of
like,
people.
okay,
It's always tough, but
the states are also going by what
we're
the news
bringing,
they're getting.
some of the
But at the
ventilators.
same
We got some
time,
for New Jersey just yesterday, and we're going to bring them
it
some
usually
more,
comes
including
on,
doctors.
they schedule for
We're
5.
getting doctors,
Usually comes on
nurses,
5:30, 6
respiratory
o'clock.
specialists, and other support workers.
The White
These are
House has a
from the
YouTube
military.
channel.
We're taking people now out of our
I
military.
know, it's amazing.
We've been doing it, but now we're doing it on a larger basis, and I want to thank Secretary of Defense Esper, who will detail some of what we're doing tomorrow and Monday. As the situation in Washington state continues to stabilize, we're returning a 300-bed federal medical station to a different location, so where we need it, and we appreciate that. They won't be needing it, and we appreciate them letting us know we're going to move it to a different location. It was already built. Many governors initially made large requests for federal support for their states in anticipation of a greater number of cases, but the residents of Washington state have done a really good job of following the federal distancing guidelines. They really have. I'm also pleased to report that Oregon will be spending and sending. They're spending a lot of money because they really did stockpile well, and they're also sending 140
I heard they
ventilators
prepared, and
directly
cases
to New
do
York,
seem to
which we
be
appreciate.
under control, which is great.
And I want to thank
which
the
is great.
Vice
We want to keep
President
it
for
that
the
way.
great work he's doing every day, dealing with our nation's governors. Mike Pence has been working day and night on this, and we want to get it over. He's got to get a little more sleep than he's getting. He hasn't been getting very much, I will tell you that. And we're all in this together, and it's a beautiful thing to see how people are joining forces to help one another. They really are.
Well, people stepping
In
up.
addition to
Seeing
our
folks that
courageous
literally that are
doctors,
like,
nurses,
we
and
cannot eat,
healthcare
and
workers,
people
I
helping
also
out.
want to thank the
It's the time
incredible
we need to
food
come
supply
together.
workers who are feeding our nation. I spoke just a little while ago to Senator Bozeman. You know Senator Bozeman. We all do. He's a great senator. He's a great person. We spoke just this morning, and we discussed how important it is to keep our farmers and ranchers, processors, and distributors in our nation's prayers.
Well, that's the thing. This is
And I
Some
want to
people
thank the
eat.
senator for the incredible job he's been doing. And a lot of
People
the senators
complain about
and
this, that, and the other
congressmen
thing. And yeah, no, there's
everyone-
fair criticism,
everybody's
but it's
working
like,
very hard. My
why
administration
do we
is
pay people to grow crops that we
working
might not
very
even necessarily
aggressively
use?
to pioneer new
I would say
medical
we could probably use those crops for
countermeasures
something,
to
number
treat
one. Number
and
two,
prevent infection.
to ensure that the nation
Working
can
on
eat.
a lot of things.
Seems like a pretty good
We must
reason.
utilize our nation's scientific brilliance to vanquish the virus. We have to vanquish the virus
I think
as
the
quickly as
president-
we can.
The president is taking this seriously.
Because
You could,
we have a lot
dude,
of
man,
things
it
happening
doesn't look like
in
he's
this
really
country.
sleeping at all or having any
And
rest.
we
Like
have a
this seems
great
to be taking a
future,
toll on the
but we
president,
have to
in my
get back
opinion.
to work. This week, the FDA established the Coronavirus Treatment Accelerator Program, which is expediting the development of new antiviral and other therapies, and they're doing it on a very rapid basis. And I think we're
I
having
think
some
what they've
very
said
good
is
results.
any
We'll tell you about
potential
that.
virus
HHS
or
continues
a
to speed the
vaccine
development of
that they are
therapies
developing as
derived
well,
from human blood
they're actually starting
that have the
mass-scale
potential
production in
to
case
lessen
they
the
have the potential to
severity
work. So
or
we'd actually
shorten
have
the
some
length of the
stockpiles.
illness.
So
And as you
Could be
know,
a sunk
last
cost,
Saturday,
but,
the
well,
FDA also
you're
gave
talking about lives
emergency
here.
authorization for hydroxychloroquine. And the hydroxychloroquine is I hope it's going to be a very important answer. We're having some very good things happening with it, and we're going to be distributing it through the Strategic National Stockpile. It's going into the Strategic National Stockpile to treat certain patients, and we have millions and millions of doses of it, 29 million to be exact. In addition to that, we're making it, and we're also getting it from various other locations and countries. In one case, I called Prime Minister Modi of India this morning. They make large amounts of hydroxychloroquine, very large amounts, frankly. And I said they had a hold because, you know, they have 1.5 billion people, and they think a lot of it. And I said I'd appreciate if they would release the amounts that we ordered, and they are giving it serious consideration. But they do India makes a lot of it. But we have already 29 million, if you look, I mean, that's a big number, 29 million doses. And we've got millions of doses that are
How many doses,
being made
over
here,
what time,
and
what are
many
the
millions of
parameters?
doses that are made elsewhere that are
This is
being
why it's supposed to
shipped
be
here
as prescribed by a
and will
doctor.
be arriving. We're just
Hopefully it
hearing
can be useful.
really
Hopefully
positive
there are
stories,
minimal side effects, if
and
any.
we're continuing to collect the data. But I'll just speak for myself. It's been out for a long time. It's a malaria drug. It's also a drug for lupus. And there's a study out that people with lupus aren't catching this horrible virus. They're not
Which
affected so
study?
much by it. Now, maybe that's correct. Maybe it's false. You're going to have to check it out. But there's a lot of very positive things happening with that. That's a game changer if that's the case. Obviously, we continue to work on the vaccines, but the vaccines have to be down the road by probably 14, 15, 16 months. We're doing great on the vaccines. I think Johnson & Johnson is leading, seems to be leading in terms of the studies, but we'll see what happens. But I feel good about that, but that's down the road. But tremendous promise with what's just been mentioned. In addition to that, Gilead Sciences has initiated a phase 3. That's down the line, meaning clinical studies of the drug remdesivir. Now, it's approximately 1,000 patients, which is a pretty good study. Other drugs are also being studied in patients. And this week, Oracle, great company, donated a new web portal.
Thank you.
Larry Ellison, amazing guy, and platform to the government to gather real-time data on how patients are responding to the various new treatments. And they have a very sophisticated site, and we'll be learning a lot from Oracle, and thank you to them. We're also spending economic dollars like you wouldn't believe, and speeding economic relief to American workers, families, and businesses. Yesterday, the Small Business Administration launched the Paycheck Protection Program to help employees keep paying their workers. In 24 hours, the Small Business Administration and over 1,200 lending partners processed over 28,000 loans. It's so far ahead of schedule, and billions of dollars. It's worked out incredibly well, and I want to thank Bank of America and J.P. Morgan Chase and a lot of the big banks that have been involved, and a lot of the community banks. Community banks have really jumped on it, and it's so far going way ahead of schedule. The SBA also clarified that faith-based organizations, including houses of worship, are eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program. That's great. As well as the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program that you're familiar with, on the same terms as every other applicant. If we run out of funding for the Employee Retention Program, I will immediately ask Congress for more money. This is money that's really going directly to the people that need it, the small businesses that need it, and the workers that need it. Finally, because when we open, we want to open strong with businesses that are going. Remember, we had the greatest economy in the world, and then one day we were told to got to shut it down, stop it, tell everyone to stay home because of this horrible virus, and we did that. And we did the right thing, but now we have to open. We have to open our country. Finally, I can report that as of today, the State Department has successfully coordinated the safe return of more than 40,000
When you
Americans
say
stuck
that,
abroad
and we're still talking
on
about
over 400 flights from
almost another
75
30
countries. Many of
days.
those countries were terrific in helping us, and I appreciate that very much. Some of them I had to call the leaders
say
of the
we will
country, most
open.
of whom I know.
But
And once I did, they snapped like you wouldn't believe. They really helped us great. So I appreciate that. So we brought back 40,000 Americans who were literally stuck in some countries with no chance of getting out. We got them back. 400 flights, 75 countries. Think of that. And those countries, in almost every instance, had a big problem with the virus. I want to thank the American people, most of all, for the selfless sacrifices that they're making for our nation. I know it's not pleasant, although some people have said they've gotten to know their family better, and they love their family more than ever. And that's a beautiful thing. They've actually gotten to know them. They're in the same house with their family for a long time. I guess it can also work the other way, perhaps, but we don't want to talk about that.
did he just
And I
start
want to
laughing?
encourage everyone to keep
anyone
following our
heard Donald Trump
guidelines on
laugh?
slowing the spread. Sustaining this war effort is, and that's what it is. This is a war
I
effort.
think that was a Schadenfreude laugh.
Is the patriotic duty of every citizen. While we may be more physically distant for a time, we're closer together in the heart and in the spirit. And through this great national unity is happening. We're having a great unity developing that a lot of people didn't think would be possible to develop like this. And we will conquer the disease and restore our nation to its full and glorious might. We're doing really well, and I'm very proud of everybody out there. We're very proud of you. It's something that nobody could have ever projected. It's been over 100 years that a thing like this has happened. And the problem with this one is the contagion. It's so contagious. Nobody's ever seen anything like that, where it's so contagious. You can be feet away and just talking to somebody and catch it. You can catch it. You know how long it can live on surfaces. So things that nobody
it's a
even thought of, the
multi-vector
level of
transmission.
contagion. So we're getting there. We're going to make sure that it's over soon. And just keep going. It's not going to be long. And thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to ask Dr. Hahn to speak.
All right.
And
So I believe he goes on to say very nice things about Dr. Hahn. Dr. Hahn, I believe, is probably doing a great job. Just to kind of reiterate what we're seeing now, as far as we know from current CDC guidelines, if you're going out, if you're going to be around folks, the grocery store, this or that, basically some form of a face covering or something like that. Here's the thing. It's a lot of folks say, oh, well, it's not going to help you, or it's going to help you or something. Here's the thing. When you're talking, you're existing, you're doing this or that, or yes, clearing your throat, coughing, sneezing. Here's the thing. If you minimize any of the things that you're getting out there, if other people are doing the same, guess what? There's not as much water vapor for the virus to hitch a ride on or something like that. Again, I am not a doctor or a medical professional. All I'm saying is this kind of seems to be common sense just based upon my knowledge of other things in the world and how stuff and things work. So that's all I'm saying. But hey, thank you all for watching. Peace out, everybody. And long live the elbow bump. Oh, we did it.